think it's important to note that it comes in an international context. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people writing about how COINTELPRO is back and all this kind of stuff, and I think what I keep running into is a lot of people don't know, and why should they really? That I mean, because this is not happening in any sort of major countries that I know of, but in Denmark and in New Zealand, those are two countries that I personally know well, where there are active campaigns going on to give money to various groups, including PFLP and FARC. Not necessarily out of like unconditional support for these organizations, but just to make the point that they are far less terroristic than the governments that they're fighting, and that to classify them as terrorist organizations while leaving governments like Colombia and Israel as you know, recipients of billions of dollars of military aid is an absurd contradiction. And you know, it's a long-standing double standard. And these groups are not characterized, not classified as terrorist groups under UN classifications. They're only by the U.S. and certain other countries. And like in Denmark, you know, where they're classified as terrorists, there's been thousands of people who have given to these organizations in protest and not been arrested for it. Although the founder of one of the organizations who started giving the money to these groups is now facing a prison sentence. But I don't know the latest on his prison sentence, so I don't know. You know what anybody actually did or didn't do. But if anybody in a socialist organization in this country is conceivably linked in any way to a socialist group in Denmark or in New Zealand, then they are very possibly somehow or other financially linked to PFLP, and that you know we're talking about insignificant sums of money here, but you know purely what do you call it? You know, symbolic, but so I don't know, you know, what's happening here with these raids and what the, you know, ultimately, yes. Yeah, there's a meeting going on too, right?
Well, yeah, but I don't want to take away from this, but if you want to look up Committee Against Political Repression, CAPR, that's the name of the defense committee that we set up here in Chicago for the head of the Arab American Action Network, and Joe Eisenbaker and Stephanie Weiner, who are activists in Heart of Freedom Road. So if you're interested in looking that up, you'll find out more about our activities. And there's going to be a picket line at the, let me get this straight, at the Dirksen Federal Building at 8:30 on Tuesday morning, because that's when the grand jury meets there. And there's going to be there's a picket line in the morning, there's a press conference at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the same place, Dirksen Federal Building. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, and what's that? Committee
Against Political Repression.
Committee Against Political Repression. Yeah. So my friend Bob, last time I was in the Midwest was with Ann Feeney, and as has been mentioned, Ann is sick with lung cancer in Pittsburgh in the hospital. So if anybody knows Ann or likes her music, then you know, go to annfeeney.com and send her a little you know, hello and encouragement and a few bucks if you can. And when we were last here, when I slept in Madison, she got up early and went to visit Clarence there at the hospital, and then he died 2 weeks later. And this is a song about my friend Bob Steck, who Bob grew up in Iowa, and when he grew up in Iowa, they were surrounding auctions and not letting anybody in that they didn't recognize, and auctioning everything off for a penny and then giving it back to the farmer that the bank was trying to take the farm away from. And he was one of thousands of people who answered the call when it went out to go to Spain. And when he got back from Spain after spending 16 months in a concentration camp, he was given the official designation premature anti-fascist. And today they'd probably say it was material support for terrorism. They were old when I was young. Now they've all but passed away. Now it's just a second-hand memory of the day when from all around the world they sailed off to Spain to fight against the fascists, where so many men were slain. Who will recall the days when they all stood side by side, now that the last Lincoln veteran died beside Martin Luther King, or in a veteran's you could see the men who made the journey to join the 15th Brigade. When men of many nations, of most every creed and hue, Catholics and Protestants, atheists and Jews, joined together in the trenches to turn back the fascist tide. Now that the last Lincoln veteran died, the working class of many nations joined in a desperate bid with what weapons they could find. They fought to save Madrid from Brussels and Berlin, Galway and London town. Who will recall the brigadistas who went to keep the fascists down? There beside the Spanish people, even the figs and olives cried. Now that the last Lincoln veteran died. But Il Duce and Der Fuhrer deserve only some of Franco's thanks, 'cause the fuel to move the harbor came from the USA, and the men that they gunned down were from New York and Frisco Bay. Uncle Sam claimed he was neutral. Who will remember how he lied? Now that the last Lincoln veteran died. They say people get conservative the older that they age. They say that being radical is just a youthful phase, but the finest communist I've known lived to 95, and he spent his whole life striving for humanity to thrive. To forget these fallen heroes is something I cannot abide. Now that the last Lincoln veteran died. Now that the last Lincoln veteran died. There's a valley in Spain called Jara. It's a place that we all know so well. It was there that we gave our manhood, where so many of our great comrades